This E3 demo is presented by State Farm.
All right, it is the final day of E3 as we watch the slow decay of my mental sanity, but it will be forestalled because here's another game and a gentleman who I always love interviewing, Maxime Bailon, creative director for Splinter Cell Blacklist. Thank you so much for your time.
Again, thanks for having us.
Oh no, my pleasure, my pleasure. Now, before we get to the demo, obviously Splinter Cell has gone through many permutations since it first started all the way back on the original Xbox. There was a little bit of criticism when Conviction happened, and then there was some apprehension when Blacklist was shown off. How can you sort of just address that? What is your goal with this game, and how are you changing it but trying to stay true to what Splinter Cell is?
Well, I think the challenge every time you're showing the game in like a 5-minute demo or something is a game is about so many things, but then when you have 5 minutes, you have to pick one little slice, right? So it's always very difficult. You want to show that you're back, you want to surprise, you want to impress, so it's always challenging. And that's why at this E3, we brought it all. We brought single player, we brought co-op, we brought Spy versus Mercs, we're doing live demos at our booth, so we're really trying to show the entire scope of the game.
Yeah, it's a very comprehensive package, Splinter Cell Blacklist. Well, let's go ahead and start looking at the demo. If you wouldn't mind setting it up, where are we in the game, in the world?
This is much later in the game. The engineers, the bad guys of the game of Blacklist, are in Louisiana, and they've attacked a natural gas facility. And they've attacked it with a Stuxnet type virus, so they've turned off all the fire suppressant systems, and they've rammed a tanker into the refinery. So lots of fire, lots of explosions, and then Sam's going in not only to help the refinery, get saved, but also to try to capture an engineer leader.
No, this is also kind of like, it's an airplane, isn't it? But it's kind of like your hub.
Yeah, exactly.
That same goes back to it. And also, there seems to be more kind of acted narrative in this Splinter Cell game than any of the others. I'm curious why you decided to go in that direction.
Well, we really changed the format, the structure of the game, right? So now in Blacklist, every time you finish a mission, you're going back to the plane, which we call the Paladin, right? It's Sam's headquarters, it's Fort Echelon, basically.
Right.
And what's interesting with that is that in the plane, you can walk around, it's a playable hub, you can talk to different characters, you can unlock side missions, things like that. You can find hidden objects, maybe you can call some people. I'm not going to go into much details, but anyways, so it's very interesting for us because it gives us a nice moment to change the pace also, to move the story forward. And I think what I'm excited about is that at the center of the plane, we've got the SMI, the Strategic Mission Interface, which when you activate, it's a supercomputer, right? You've got a map of the world, and then on that map, you've got all your single-player missions, your co-op missions, your friends' presence, and for us, it was important to really simplify the way a player could play any part of the game. So, joining a friend playing Spy versus Mercs is the same way you're starting a single-player map. It's that same way you're playing a co-op mission.
It's kind of merging the various aspects of Splinter Cell, so it all kind of falls under the same fiction.
Exactly. And also what's cool, and I've been talking about that a lot, is our economy system that's also transversal to all our game modes. So regardless of where you're playing, SP Co-op or SVM, you're going to be making money that you can spend anywhere you want. So you can upgrade the plane, you can upgrade it, and it's a visual upgrade, but it's also a gameplay upgrade. So for example, if you upgrade the cockpit, when you're going to be playing, you're going to get a radar in your HUD to show you where the enemies are. Right? So we've got that, and obviously you can upgrade Sam's ops suit, the gadgets, the goggles, and obviously your spies and your mercs when you're playing SVM.
Now, back to this, I think what's actually quite striking about this level, and it addresses, I think, one of the issues I had with Conviction, is you really feel like it's a large level that you have quite a bit of variety at hand about how to traverse it and how to handle the problem.
Yeah. Well, I think for me, one of the strongest things of Splinter Cell has always been variety and options, right? It's a game that you have to think before you act, and we want the players to have their own ideas, have their own ways to solve our problems, right? So here is a great example. We're trying to reach a station, lots of options how to go. It's your game, you play the way you want. That's always been at the heart of what Blacklist has been.
Now, how do you kind of plan out this level design? Because we all want variety, so we want to think that you're being smart about the game, but if you make it too varied, it becomes overwhelming for the player, and then, as I was saying about Conviction, if it's a little bit too restricted, you feel like there really is a best way to go about doing this.
Well, it's a tough job. We've got
and that's why you do it and I don't.
Oh, we've got a great team back in Toronto that's working on the single player maps, and it's really like you said. You're right though. It's a real challenge, and I think what's interesting is that our ingredients are affect a lot of play styles. So for example, when you create a section of a map, if you put cover, cover is good for a player that wants to go in and cover and shoot, but cover is also good to hide and to not be seen from AI. So a cover ingredient in our game helps a ghost player that doesn't want to be seen, and it also helps an action player that wants to go ahead and charge. Same thing for 3D navigation, right? In 3D navigation, where it's good to hide and to avoid AI, pipes and climbing, things like that. But it's all good maybe for a Panther player that wants to hide and do a death from above on an enemy. So our ingredients are multi-style, if you want. So that's allowing us to really build our levels. But the way we think of our levels, we call them black boxes. So they're little black boxes where we do a pass of 2D cover, all that. Then we add a pass of 3D ingredients, pipes, ledges, things like that to go around. And then we have a very important pass of light and shadow, right?
So one of the key things you've been talking about this game is that you're trying to address all three of those play styles. A very aggressive one where you never are seen and it's not violent, and that's how I like to play the Panther, because I like to make sure they're not going to stick up behind me and get me. How do you address all three in one level and really not balance it so much that it's not fun in any one of those modes? I mean, that seems like a very tricky act to accomplish.
Well, it's a mix of multiple things. One is the ingredients that I was talking about in the level design. Another part is the AI, right? The AI that you're playing against, they're the ones giving you the challenge. So what's interesting for us is that the AIs, the way we place them, they're patrolling, they're looking for you or not. So they're in what we call pre-combat AI, right? And that's giving you a nice challenge for your stealth, but it's also mixing things up if you want to go more action. So here, this section, I love this section that we're showing right now. We've got 4 heavies, and those 4 heavies, they're heavily protected enemies. They've got shotguns. They're gonna kill you super fast. You can't hand-to-hand them from the front. You need to go behind them from behind. So the way Chris is playing it, he's really taking his time, staying in the shadows, staying in cover, and he's being patient, right? So this enemy's going away, so he's able to move, take cover before he's turning. So it's really, this is the footprint tracking. So with the economy system, we've upgraded the goggles to have footprint tracking. So that's helping you to
right.
see
As
that.
you progress through the game, you can actually upgrade and be able to try out more things.
Exactly.
And it's interesting, you have the heavies here. I think one of the challenges that exists in a lot of stealth games is how do you make the game harder as it goes on, especially with something like Splinter Cell, which it's grounded in some reality, so you can't have bigger monsters. You have to, what is kind of the science there about, making sure that the player is further challenged at the skill set that he's developing?
Well, the way that Laurent Malville, our lead game designer, thought about the AI is basically he's identified 3 gameplay pillars for our game: navigation, combat, and stealth. Right, and he's designed with the team back in Toronto the AI to challenge those pillars. So for example, a heavy enemy is going to challenge your combat, right? You can't attack him from the front, you need to go around, so it's challenging, it's playing with your combat. A dog, for example, is going to challenge your stealth, because suddenly you have an enemy that doesn't only see you, but he smells you. So suddenly a cover between you and an enemy, between you and a dog, is not the same. That cover is invisible for the dog, right? Because he's going to smell you. So Laurent, with the guys back in Toronto, really worked on making sure that the pillars of the gameplay were addressed and challenged through the different types of enemies.
Got it. I love the idea about the dog, even though smell is the one thing I hope we never develop in games. Exactly. I don't want to smell most games, but no, that's a very clever idea.
Another example is we have some enemies that have night vision goggles. So, the whole game you're hiding in the shadows and you're very comfortable, the shadows are your friend, and then suddenly these guys arrive with our night vision goggles, that's it. Everybody's in daylight, right? So it levels the playing field,
And then also, and this is one that I think was a very positive change with Conviction, is I started to see stealth games, I started to call them slow games.
Okay.
And you're doing many things that you were doing in other games at a much slower pace. Obviously, there's a snappier, but stealth is still very important. How did you handle sort of that transition so it isn't sort of a cumbersome process, but you also, when you play, but you want to create some tension?
I think something that we've done on Conviction, and that we're definitely embracing in Blacklist, is if you want to play more Panther, right, which is what you're talking about, I think, it's having the ability for the player to think about his strategy, think about his tactic, get ready, and then give him the tools to explode. And that's where I think it's really rewarding for a lot of players, is this idea that you arrive, you see your enemies, you make your plan, and then when the timing's good, you come out of the shadows, you hand-to-hand a guy, you mark and execute, so you've got this, it's still, your prep is still slow paced because you're thinking about your tactic, but once you're ready, you come out and like, you explode. And that's, I think is what you enjoy also.
No,
yeah,
definitely. Now, the one thing is, I think it's tricky, games that kind of allow for different play styles, but then judge you. And, at the end of levels here, it kind of says how you did it Ghost, yes, how you did it Panther. My concern there is you kind of tell the player, if you did level A as a Ghost, you should now do the rest of the game that way. Yeah. How do you kind of inform the player that they should feel comfortable varying their play styles even within one level?
Well, I think a big thing for me was to not have a system that was punishing the player. Mm-hmm. So it's a positive system. So what we're doing is, if you're playing Assault, you're going to make some money. If you're playing Assault, you're kicking down doors, you're shooting guys in the head, you're going to be making some money. If you're playing Panther, you're going to be making more money. So if you're not detected, the guys that you take out are going to be worth more money. And then if you're playing Ghost, that's even more and more money, because you're taking much more of your time. So we're a big thing for me, I guess, is I want to reward the player and I want to respect his time, right? If you're investing time in our game, right, I want to reward you. So if you're a player that you want to be the perfectionist player, you don't want to be seen, you want to take your time, and if you're detected, you pause, you retry, and you try again, yes, right? I want to respect that and I want to reward you for that. So if you're playing the perfect, Ghost player, and if you're playing in our perfectionist difficulty mode, once you're going to achieve it, it's going to be much harder, you're going to suffer, I think you're going to have a great time, and you're going to make a lot of money.
You're going to get more for it. I love the idea that you're thinking about respecting the player's time. That's very generous and kind.
Well, I think these days, players, and I don't like saying gamers, I think everyone's a gamer, like right? Yeah. But I think, we're all, my competition is not just Call of Duty or Halo, my competition is Breaking Bad, my competition is Candy Crush, right? We're not fighting for the players' monies, so we have to respect that. We want to give them, we want to entertain them, and then we need to respect it, and we need to love them.
So my final question, so Splinter Cell Blacklist is coming out, I believe, the 20th of August.
Super soon.
And it's on legacy gen systems. I now realize that's the new term.
It's now gen.
Xbox 360. So Ubisoft is really kind of leading the charge in terms of developing for next gen and finding interesting and new things. I'm not asking you to say what you're going to do with Splinter Cell, but I'm just curious your thoughts about what is now possible, be it on the back end with the online or just with the power that's under the hood. What are you interested in kind of playing with and experimenting with for maybe your next game, or just sort of there at Ubisoft?
Well, actually, I think something that we're seeing a lot is games that are bringing online all the time, right? Yeah. And that's I think is very interesting. And I think what's cool is that's what we're doing with Blacklist, right? We're with the SMI, we're showing you all the content we've got, we're showing you your online presence. So I think we've all started, as an industry, we started to think about that a couple of years ago, where, why is it that I'm offline or online? If I'm always online, what does that mean? How does that affect me? Can I see my friends, what they're doing? Can I see their scores? In Blacklist, we have what we call the ShadowNet, and ShadowNet is basically your online everything. So it's a new sticker at the top of like every screen you've got that's showing you, hey, your friend has just beat this score, in Panther on this map that you had. Challenge him to win 10 grand. So we're really trying to do that already, blur the lines, and I think that as we're moving forward in the future, it's going to be even more interesting to see what we can do with that. Like we saw some games that are like. Are you fighting an AI? Are you fighting a friend? Are you fighting an enemy? So the lines are getting blurred everywhere, and I think that obviously we need to be smart. It's not about just blurring everything for no reason, but there's some very interesting things that are coming with.
You can enhance that game significantly. I'm already starting to have ideas for Splinter Cell in my head after this. Martin, thank you so much for your time. Always good to see you.
Thank you
Talk
so
to you
much.
Soon.
Remember, in real life, you can't just reload your last save. Take your insurance game to the next level. Visit statefarm.com.